A warm welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. In this video we're going to be attempting to review the DA15 from In2Detailing. It's their new version of the long throw 15mm throw polisher. Just a little bit of background on that. Your entry-level polishers that people often start polishing with are typically your 8 or 9mm throw. Imran's got the DA9, which is a smaller, more compact machine which supports a 75mm or 3-inch plate and a larger 5-inch plate. Maybe even you could put a 6-inch plate on it. The throw on it is slightly smaller, so a longer throw DA, in other words, where the plate is mounted in this free spinning bearing, the longer that throw is, the more scrub you get from the orbit. So longer throw machines are slightly more suitable for rapid cutting applications as well. Typically you get a little bit more cut from them. The downside is obviously it can't support the smaller plates, and as you introduce more throw you've got to balance that off. So longer throw machines can be a little bit more vibration-y than, I don't know if that's a word, than smaller throw machines, but definitely obviously rotary machines where there's no offset. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is this polisher has been sent to me free of charge, which can create bias in reviews. So our aim is to look at why we think this polisher is good, but also criticise it as well in this particular video, and look at things that we think could be improved, and that will drive improvement hopefully of these tools. First thing is the price point, £150 for this polisher. It comes with Allen keys so you can undo the plate, and it comes with a spare set of brushes in here. So it's not a brush-free motor. It's not. So it has brushes which interface with the motor, and they get worn over time. You have to replace them. The more you use the machine, the quicker you'll wear the brushes. But the brushes are not particularly expensive. If your machine starts cutting out after a while, then that can typically mean your brushes are running low. For guys at home, these stock brushes should last years. If you're using them day in, day out in a professional environment, you might get 6 months out of a set of brushes. So it depends how much polishing you're doing. Okay, so that's the price thing. These machines are generally about half the price, maybe even a bit more than half the price, you know, or less than half the price, sorry, of some of the premium tools that you get from like Flex and Rupes, which, you know, they could be made in America or Italy or Germany. This is a Chinese-made polisher, so they're a bit more kind of entry level, perhaps for guys that are on a budget, or people that, professional detailers that might buy them and use them and then upgrade later on, but have these as backup tools. So that's the first thing. If you're looking for what type of polisher to use or buy for your first polisher, your choice is really, do you get the smaller compact DA9 with an 8mm throw that supports a 3-inch plate and the 5-inch plate? Or do you go for one of these machines and perhaps combo it with like the Imran's DA12 or 3-inch mini, because the mini polishers are so good for bumpers and stuff like that. So you can say the long throw polisher could be the more advanced option from your standard entry DA, but lots of people are picking these as their polisher, and lots of people pick them as their only polisher as well, and just use this on the bumpers and the tighter areas as best they can. Just depends what kind of level you're working to. And then the final step is obviously to get a nano polisher, so you've got 3 polishers almost. And of course there are other polishing options, rotary polishers and force rotation. Most people go for free spinning dual action polishers. Now let's talk about the spec of this machine, guys. It has a 1000-watt motor in it. There seems to be a bit of an arm race with getting the highest number of wattage on the tool, but the main thing is the torque that the tool puts out, which you can't directly correlate to wattage or power of the motor, but it does give you some idea. Generally, the more power you have, the more torque you should get. The machine weighs 2.3 kilograms, which is pretty standard for this. It does feel quite heavy in the hand, but then it's 2.3 kilos. So if they are lighter, they might be closer to 2 kilos. If they're heavier, they can be like 2.8, something like that. So the weight isn't a problem. The next thing is the features. This is the first time I've seen on a Chinese tool offering the constant speed velocity monitoring. So in other words, it's aware how fast the main axle or the oscillation is occurring, and if it detects a slowdown in that, it will increase power to compensate, so you're not getting variable torque, if you like. And it measures that by the orbit speed, I assume, not the rotational speed of the plate, which is free spinning. Okay, so that's a cool feature. It also has a soft start, so when you fire it up, it just doesn't give it full power, it just builds it, and it does that reasonably rapidly. It's not a slow soft start, but it's fine. The speed range of the tool, the minimum speed on the dial is 2000, the maximum speed is 5800 OPM, or orbits per second, or oscillations per second. So it's not measuring the spinning plate, because that will be dependent on pressure and stuff like that. It's the measuring of the rotation of the axle or the orbit. 5800 is a high top end speed. You would generally not need to go that high, but it's nice to have that capability there and not use it, than need it and not have it. And there are circumstances why you might want to max out the power that the machine's giving to you. There is no, as far as I can tell, the trigger isn't sort of a variable speed trigger. It's either on or off. It's designed primarily for right-handed people, because the trigger lock is on the left-hand side. It's only got an integrated bail, no facility for a stick bail or D handle. Those seem to have become obsolete. It has cooling fans on the back, so it passes cooling air over the motor and vents that out of the sides, here and here, on both sides, so it's harder to block it up. And it also looks like it vents it through the plate to a certain extent to maintain a cooler temperature around the pad. The integrated bail is rubberized, the handle is rubberized. It has a 6 meter reasonably heavy duty cable. I've seen more heavy duty ones, but it's okay. And it has this part here, this flexible protector, because one of the dangers is treading on the tool and yanking on it, so that can provide a bit of structure. It's not fused melted in though, and sometimes you see that on those, which can provide additional protection. The plug also feels heavy duty. I've mentioned it's a 6 meter cable, which is plenty enough to set up on one side of the car and do that, and then perhaps reposition for the other side. But 6 meters is a good cable length. Okay, that's all the specs. I'm going to end that edit there and then move to another position. Okay guys, I'm back. I'm going to demo the tool now. I forgot to say it's also got that rubberized section, so you can set the tool down. Don't set it down on car panels, I'm just showing you. Once you're not using it, you can set it down your worktop pad facing up, which is kind of quite handy. So we're just going to demo doing a set of the polish, and I'll talk about it as we kind of use it. So this isn't a polishing guide, but it also comes with 2 pads, a cutting and finish pad, which is nice, so that you're always able to use the polisher. And forgive the noise, because this is going to kick up some noise. So we're on bottom speed now. You can spread your polish out. What's that like as a speed? Is it too low? Is it too high? Fine. You don't need to go any slower than 2000. That's good. So we're going to crank up to about 3,800. So that's probably where you want to be polishing and cutting. Now we're going to put the machine onto top wax, so you can sort of hear and feel what it's like, hopefully. Full You will not need to use this machine at full speed. That is powerful and fast, and I'm warming the panel up. So definitely around about between 3,500 and 4,300, which is where I am right now at the midpoint where it clicks in, gives you a better operating speed for doing most cutting and most polishing. Much more civilised. Now I just want to bring the camera in on something, because there is something quite cool about this machine, and that is the ability for this machine to not, I'm just going to go on autofocus, could mess everything up. Let's lock that onto the panel. Okay, so hopefully now you can see this machine. Let's get in the middle of the camera shot, which is about there. I'll get a bit closer. There, and we'll zoom it in a bit. So there. I've marked the plate up just so I can keep an eye on stalling. One of the things I noticed with this machine, it's quite hard, or not just quite hard, it's really good on the stall front. So normally if you tilt your machine, that's where you're most likely going to be to stall it, but also with pressure, you can really push into this and it does not want to stall. Just trying to see if you can feel that constant speed kicking in. It's quick. One of the things I've noticed about this machine when I used it is it's difficult to stall it. In fact, it's probably one of the best I've used in regards to not stalling. It doesn't, there's a gap between the plate and the shroud. It spins true, so you don't get any wobble on the plate, which is something you can see on these Chinese polishers, is a bit more wobble. But it's not relying on the shroud to back up the plate. That could mean that over time you'll get more bearing wear on it. I don't know. That would require long testing. But on the stall front, it's fantastic. On the vibration front, if you go up to top whack, you can notice the vibration because that is a real high speed. But at 3.5 to 4.3, this sort of speed, it feels smooth. Feels pretty good. There is a slight kind of grindy feel to the kind of gearing on it that you can probably hear when I operate it. But not too bad actually. I would say that the noticeable thing with this is that it sounds like it's going to be vibrating a lot, so there's quite a lot of noise from it, but that doesn't translate to actual loads of vibration through the tool. It's pretty smooth, which is impressive again, because that can be one of the things where these tools aren't as good as some of the premium offerings. So a summary, tons of power, very good on the stall front. I think that constant speed system is helping that. Solid, well made, nothing creaks, nothing moves. Noisy, yes, you might want to use ear defenders on this because it's quite a loud kind of whistling noise. But really good to actually kind of, you know, it's got loads of power when you're going on the panel. This panel obviously sits on top of a trestle as well. It's a bit different to polishing a rear quarter panel on a car, which is a bit more sturdy. So you tend to get a bit more vibration back through these test panels when they're just sitting on trestles. So I'll give you an overall summary of the DA15 by In2Detailing. This tool is well made, it's solid, it's got the right cable length, the build quality seems good, it's got a ton of power, it's smooth in normal operating windows, the top operating window, the highest speed, you wouldn't need to use that, and if you do, you will get the fuzzy hands and it will be quite loud. My recommendation is you probably wear ear defenders if you're polishing all day with this, or noise cancelling headphones. The two negatives are, one, the noise. The other negative is, although this does have some innovation over the normal Chinese tools in terms of the soft start and the constant speed, the constant speed is a great addition. What I would love to see, and I think, you know, brands like In2Detailing can do it, is some unique features to this polisher that don't exist on other tools. And I've talked about this before. When you're offering something, how can you make it different to the rest of the offerings on the market? Because that's the main problem. There's loads of polishers out there and they're all competent. So the more USPs you can put into your product, the better. The USP that I think will come, I'm convinced it will come because I think it's a good idea and I've been talking about it for 10 years, is a built-in set timer on the tool. No, not on your phone or on your app, because it's another thing you've got to get out and unlock, and it's another item that you've got to play around with. A set timer on the tool, you put in 2 minutes, and when you fire up, you prime it, and when you fire up the tool, the set timer starts, and when it gets to its time, it can beep, or it can flash a light, or it can vibrate, whatever you want, but it don't cut out, carry on working, but just notify you you hit your set timer. You don't ever want to kill the power on someone, because that could be frustrating if you know it's your set timer's coming to an end, but you've got a bit more you want to do. You don't want it cutting the power. So just a simple set timer that you can vary. And I think that will come. My instinct is that will come. What else could you do to innovate with tooling? Integrated lighting, especially for corded versions where you're not worried about conserving power. So integrated inspection lighting on the bail. We've talked about the integration of a paint depth gauge. You could even slot it in here so that when you've done your set, you whip out your paint depth gauge and you check it. You always have it with your tool then. You know, that might not be a good piece of innovation because it's a separate thing. But you get the idea. I think you've got to get thinking about innovation and put it in there. Maybe go brushless, could be an improvement. Maybe include a 6-inch plate with it, could be an improvement. I'm trying to brainstorm everything I could think of. The actual fundamentals though, so we're talking about the negatives and constructive criticism, but the fundamentals of this tool, as always, I think are very good for the price point. Very solid, very well made, very powerful, very good on the stool. Yeah, that's about it, guys. So this is the new DA15 from In2Detailing. This will be going off to the Fresh Layers studio. This tool is going to get hammered for the next 12 months, and I'll bring it back on the channel in 12 months' time. If we have to replace brushes, I'll tell you how many brushes we replace. If the main bearing fails on the tool, I'll show you that. If it develops a loose connection from being trod on and pulling this, you know, the electric cable, so it can sometimes, you wiggle the cable and it kind of jumps into life, which is something I've seen happen on various tools. We'll tell you about it. If the cable deteriorates from being trodden on, if the cable splits, all that sort of stuff. Motor failure's less common, funny enough, but if the motor fails on it, we'll tell you about it. Other than that, this looks pretty indestructible to me, and a good offering from In2Detailing that gives you all of the capability of any 15mm throw dual action polisher, a really good price point. So there we go. I'll put a link to it in the description. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this as well. Another piece of criticism is I think it's nice if the plates you don't have to mark them up yourself. It's pretty minor because some people don't want that on there. They don't want to see something flashing around. They just want to polish. I don't know. Some plates have got that, so it can be nice to have a built-in marker, you know, so that you can monitor the stool more easily. Another piece of innovation is I'm thinking, if a sensor could monitor rotational stall, and if it detects rotational stall, it doesn't necessarily have to increase power because it might not be bogging down on the orbit, but the rotational stall could be stopping. It could light up a light, so that just a stall light there, so you're using it and you know it's stalling. That might be quite useful. Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking too much. But definitely a set timer. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon on the Forensics Detailing channel. Bye for now.
Holding on to what I knew, but the moment's gone. Where was I?